We need it. Oxygen. It's why we
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Grit Files. You've got Loralyn here in the house, and I have got an adventuresome gal here who's with us today on the podcast. Her name is Jennifer Holmes, and she does Joyous Journeys. And you're thinking, well, every journey should be joyous, shouldn't it? Well, of course it should. And who doesn't love traveling? I mean, you look at all of the statistics coming up for the summer, and airlines are posting record bookings. They're also, of course, posting record delays and all that, but we're not going to get into that and go down the negative path here this morning. Jennifer is focused on voluntourism. And if you don't know what that is, well, by the end of our podcast, you certainly are going to. It combines the idea of volunteering and doing something for a cause, being mission-based, social impact, social innovation, all that good stuff, but doing it somewhere else, taking a trip to go do it. So, Jennifer, I don't want to steal your thunder. Why don't you introduce yourself and talk to our listeners about Joyous Journeys?
I would love that. Thank you, Loralyn. So my name is Jennifer Holmes. I am a travel agent and owner of Joyous Journeys. And I get to help people go on all kinds of journeys. A little bit about how it started is I was planning my own volunteer vacation, and I realized there's not really an agency that helps with this kind of stuff. So I had to vet the organization. I had to figure out what visa stuff I needed, my flights, like everything, what I wanted to do ahead of time and whatever. And there's no one really to help. So I thought that was a great place to be and to help facilitate, because I'm sure that if I'm doing this, there are other people that want to do this as well, right? So I get to do my volunteer vacation in the Maldives. Very excited. I'm going to do whale shark research for 2 weeks.
Ooh, that is unbelievable. So let's talk about that, because I'm a PhD scientist and I love research and geeking out on things. I mean, this sounds a lot more interesting to do whale shark research in the Maldives versus I went up to the depths of Northern Ontario looking at all of the acid waters from the effluents from the mine, looking at how fish got messed up with like 2 spines and 3 eyeballs. Not very interesting. Scientifically, maybe, but talk to us about this. What does that mean? You're going to do 2 weeks of research. Talk to us like what that experience would be like.
So I will arrive. They'll pick me up. I get to live on the research vessel for 2 weeks. And mind you, I don't have a science background. I'm not a PhD. I'm not a scientist or researcher or anything. But this organization hires, so they hire local. All of the people that are actually employed by their organization live in the Maldives, and they have a real focus on giving back to the community that they live in. And so that was really important to me. But I can go and I can help them spot the whale sharks. They'll teach me how to jump in the water and be able to help measure them. So 2 of us, one on each end of the whale shark, to measure them. Taking pictures under the water to identify the sex of the whale shark and identify the whale shark, because it's one of the few places in the world where they actually have resident whale sharks. So that's pretty exciting. But yeah, I'll be in the water with whale sharks, which was a huge dream of mine. So I'm super excited for that.
Ooh, this is incredible. Now, voluntourism isn't limited to whale shark research or having to actively do something in that way. I've heard of other examples where people are building homes, they're doing irrigation projects, trying to bring water to local communities, bring clean water, bring sanitation, all these things. So talk to us about some of the other voluntourism, I guess, projects or escapes that are available today. Talk to us. Give us a little flavor.
Yeah. So it can be as much or as little as you desire. I work with different suppliers, and the main thing is when I'm vetting these agencies or organizations or suppliers, I'm looking at, are they giving back to the communities? So even if you don't want boots on the ground volunteering, you can go and get behind the scenes at, say, a wildlife reserve in South Africa, and you can meet with some of the leading conservationists there and get behind the scenes tours and close-ups with animals that you don't get just being a quote unquote normal tourist, right? But it can be as much or as little as you want. I had a couple that wanted to come to Disney and they took a day out of their trip and came over to Tampa and built oyster reef balls with me at Tampa Bay Watch. So you can do a soup kitchen while you're visiting, Boston for the week and amidst your tours and whatever. So it's just a way to be more socially conscious when you're visiting a place. And it's also a way to make sure that more of your tourism dollars are actually having an impact in the communities that you're visiting, because that tends to get missed a lot in some of these big box vacations.
Oh, yeah. And I think that this is such an important point, and I'm glad you brought it up, that voluntourism doesn't mean, oh, yeah, you've got to go sweat it out, right? And like at equatorial Africa, and you're digging through things and digging trenches for 2 weeks. And, for a lot of people, they're thinking, oh my God, that's not going to be fun. My teenagers are going to completely rebel if I do that with them. That you can distill it and chunk it down into a day event. Like you said, working at a local soup kitchen, working at whatever project it is, collecting or farming or doing anything, just to give, especially kids that have a lot of privilege, so that they understand how privileged that they are, and to start building that ethos of empathy and sustainability, that they have to give back and understand what it's like. I think this is incredible. I think everybody should do a voluntour.
Right. And again, like you said, it could be a morning, it could be a day. It could be you maybe do want to go and give back in some way, like you've traveled to maybe Alaska several times and you love it there and you want to find a different way to give back. So you might want to go do 4 weeks helping out at a sled dog farm where they train and raise sled dogs, and you can do that. So there are all kinds of things you can do. It's limited only by the human imagination. So yeah, I love helping people explore what they're passionate about and how it can look to add some component of this to their vacation. And again, it doesn't, like you said, doesn't have to be boots on the ground, it can be helping to maintain trails in a national park, but it can also be learning from a marine biologist while you're out whale watching. It really runs the gamut of things. It can be educational, cultural immersion, and you do get a lot of behind the scenes tours and experiences that most travelers don't get.
Oh, bingo, bingo. And as long as they're, if I'm going to go to Alaska, they're not asking me to, I don't know, measure the size of the length of the claws of grizzly bears or something like that. Down for it. Short of that, it's
right.
Distance between me and the bears, having been chased by several in my hiking days. Yeah, not fun. Let's talk about your journey of entrepreneurship. So talk to us about how you've changed through this process and through creating Joyous Journeys.
Wow. Well, it's been an experience. I came from state government. I worked in state government for 20 years, worked my way up in progressive and leadership. So owning a business has been a completely different world. And the one thing that I think I didn't find I would spend myself spending so much time on is social media marketing, or marketing in general. That thought did never really pop into my head. And now that's what I find I'm spending so much of my time doing. But I love that I get to talk to people. It's like every day. It's very flexible. So my schedule can be fluid. I work from home. I'm traveling now. So for the next, I've been traveling for a month and I've got another month before I settle down for a couple months. And then I start my own volunteer vacation. But it's been a very exciting journey and a hard journey and a lot of learning and learning curves. But I have some great resources. You can reach out to the Small Business Administration, and different local chapters have different trainings and mentors. And it's been really great to find how supportive the community of entrepreneurs are.
Oh, yeah. And that's just it. I love SBA. They've helped me as well. They're fantastic. But I want to come and back to something that you brought up about it's been hard. So most of the guests that we have on here are female entrepreneurs, not exclusively, but mostly. And what's really interesting about them versus the male entrepreneurs I have on the show is that female entrepreneurs, again, I'm stereotyping a little bit, but after a couple of hundred episodes, there are trends, right? There are observations that women tend to be more open about the difficulties that we faced on this journey. It's not all like, woohoo, bros and Lambos. Yeah, I walked outside and yeah, they threw $1 million at me to build this thing, right? It's not how it goes. So talk about that. And when you have those dark days, what you do to dig yourself out of the rut and say, I'm going to keep going. Talk to us about what you do.
So I think my strategy, I have some really great friends. So I have an accountability partner. We send each other every morning our intention or affirmation for the day of how we're going to focus our day. So no matter if things go sideways, we have that point of reference that we've started our day with, and we go back to that and read that or see that. And we meet usually weekly just to kind of talk about the struggles that we've had, or where our vision is, get ourselves recentered and refocused. So that's been a huge help. But it's really about remembering some of the advice I've been given has been something that's been very helpful to me. I very early, because my business is very new. I've been booking travel for myself and friends for many, many years, but the business itself is really new yet. So I'm still experiencing that, having to make growth happen and getting myself out there and doing those kinds of things. But very early in my experience, I attended Host Week, which for travel agents is something that's really big. You get to hear a lot of people in the industry talking about things. And something that stuck with me, and I remind myself every day, really almost every single day, this gentleman from one of the host agencies said, when he was asked what advice he would give a new travel agency or a new travel agent, he said, just hang in there. It looks like nothing's happening, but you're planting the seeds. Just hang in there, because all of a sudden you're going to look around and say, I don't even have time for all this stuff that's happening, So I just keep reminding myself of that and trusting that where I felt led to do this and that the universe has my back, right? Like, it's going to be okay. That's what I would have told my younger self, is it's all going to be okay. So that's what I keep telling myself now too.
And that's just it, right? It's consistency. And there's several people out there that say that the game of entrepreneurship, half the battle is you have to show up. And there's days that it's really freaking hard. You don't want to show up. You want to stay under the covers and just go, oh, dear God, like not today, right?
Yeah.
But we have to. We got to find that passion, dig in, and we got to find that energy and resilience, because entrepreneurship is a grind. Social media and all the rest of it do tend to, I think, overly glamorize it, that like, woohoo, right? It's all, like I said, bros and Lambos, but it's not that.
Right. Yeah. It is hard, but it's exciting too, right? Like this is my baby and I'm building this and it's exciting to watch it grow, I've had some great clients already. And so being able to work with some wonderful people, and I've had some clients that teach me what kind of clients I don't want in my business. Right. So, it's all a learning experience, and it's all helping me to grow and blossom into the person that I want to be in this period of my life. So it's
very
exciting.
good. When you look back so far at what you've done, have you had one of those like, oh crap moments, like where, oh my God, like what just happened?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's been very interesting. I've got some fun experiences. I had clients from another state who wanted to travel like in a week to the Florida Keys, which is, in this time of year, now it's maybe getting to where it'd be a little easier, but they wanted to do this in February. And they wanted to pay July prices, right? So that was really tough. And it was a very big learning experience for me, that people, in order for me to work with someone, they really have to be on the right time frame. And also the value of having a travel agent. My very first clients, I started working with them. They were a referral from a friend, and started working with them. when I went to add their flight onto their itinerary, because they had booked their flights themselves, I was really confused looking at it because I could see their flights there and I could see 2 of their 3 flights back, but they were missing the piece from St. Thomas to Miami, where their second flight left from. So I called her up right away and said, because they had booked it themselves through a third-party agency. So I said, you have to call this agency and let them know and find out what's going on, because right now you don't have the flight. You're not going from St. Thomas to Miami. You only have your flight from Miami. So she called them, and it took them about a week and a half, but they were able to get it fixed because the airline had canceled one of the flights, or canceled that flight. Yep. So they were able to get it taken care of, but they may not have known that until the day they were leaving if they didn't have a travel agent, because the third-party agency didn't even know it. So that was a big learning experience for me, not having used a travel agent in the past, at the value of having someone as your advocate and your eyes and ears, and being able to put the pieces together.
I've been caught up in that personally, like a couple of times. Again, back in the day when I worked for big corporations, they had, wonderful travel agents. And again, same thing. Like I was flying almost every day somewhere. So you just don't keep track. Like, it's like, oh, okay, look at it. Like, oh, where am I flying today? Oh yeah, I need to be there at 6 a.m. Oh, I need to be there at 9 a.m. I didn't know what color rental cars. I just got into the habit of starting to rent red rental cars. So I knew at least my car was red, and just cuckoo. But I remember being stuck once, and I was waiting to get my flight, and I was stuck in Dallas. And they said, no, you have no continuing flight. You're missing that leg of your flight. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's like, it's 10 o'clock at night. I'm supposed to be on. So thank God I had a travel agent book me and get set, because it was the whole ripple effect of all the other places I had to go in the next couple of days. And so I really do value travel agents and what they do, and they're there for you. Now, let's switch gears a bit. I've got my magic wand. Well, I'm waving it. It's here, right? You can verify, right, Jennifer? There's a magic wand.
Yep.
Who's listening right now? Who do you want to be listening to our podcast?
I think people that are already volunteering in some way, shape, or form, people that have a social responsibility, or that want to teach their children social responsibility, people that care about the places that they're visiting, that want to make sure that their travel is having a positive impact on the places that they're visiting. Also, fun groups. Like, I love doing groups, and you can do group travel based around anything. I just posted the other day, because I know of some golf groups that are taking a cruise, and they're doing golf around Ireland on a cruise. How cool is that? So and there are some cruise ships that are working towards greater sustainability, and they've made some great strides. Like Celebrity is one that I'm really enamored with right now, because of the huge work that they're doing towards sustainability, and Royal Caribbean as well. That's that whole group. So it's a lot of fun to be able to do my research, and I like putting jigsaw puzzles together. So figuring out, when I have a client, what pieces fit in with them. People that enjoy doing things with their friends, maybe want some free travel, because if you're a group leader, you get some free travel, but really that want to do things that are socially responsible, sustainable. So having those types of focuses, that's really important to my clients.
Okay. We're going to go back in time. Here's my undo button. You get to hit it once, Jennifer.
Okay.
What do you undo?
That's a tough question. So what I would probably undo, it would be tough because everything really led me to who I am today, but I'd say maybe my first marriage, not the relationship, because my son came out of that relationship, and that's, hugely important to me. But the marriage itself was really difficult to get out of. It was a growing experience and a learning experience, and probably necessary for my growth. But that would be the one thing that I would say, I could have done without that.
Well, I appreciate your candor here because, again, so many people say, well, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't be, who I was, or who I am today or where I am today without those experiences. And I get all of that. But, and since you shared, I'm the same way. It wasn't so much that, oh, I wish I had never gotten married or not in a relationship and undone and unwound all of that. But my goodness, I knew very, very early, like pretty much after I left the aisle, that I was with the wrong person and I should have divorced/annulled then, but I waited years. And then the undoing of the marriage and the finances and stuff was just a colossal mess, just beyond. So away from unhappy topics and to the close of our podcast here, my signature question. So Jennifer, we're going into your closet and there's going to be a pair of footwear there, boots, sandals, shoes, whatever, something that represents you, your personality. It just completely personifies Jennifer Holmes. What are we looking at?
So I have them. I actually own them. They're a pair of Anushka sandals. They are kind of a grayish color, and they have a beautiful purple dragonfly hand painted on them. Again, they're what are they called? They are made by women who are being paid a living wage for doing this in areas where they don't make living wages generally. So it's a very special pair of shoes to me. And they're pretty sandals with heels and hand painted and beautiful. And I love them. And they definitely represent who I am. That free spirit.
Yes. And that sounds lovely. I've got dragonfly earrings on now, dragonfly touch. So I'm all about that as well. So with that, Jennifer Holmes, founder of Joyous Journeys, making voluntourism possible and accessible and safe for everyone. So thank you so much for being on our show today.
Thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Don't forget to follow me, your host, Loralyn Mears, everywhere on social media. And how about throwing 4 or 5 stars our way if you're listening to Apple or Spotify? Subscribe to our show. And how about that fantastic intro by Touch Circle?